다 그생 먼저 나기고 산지 손럽 송바 탐제 나기고 숨게 남기진 베나를 두바레스 대자다 람림 체비 갑라 당보 기고 총어다 투모 남기진 바셰 되네 징게 남기진 바셰 되네 기고 침베 남기진 바셰 바레스 송나한테 송바레스 대송구비기 금젠 되네 레스는 계속 디고야 쉬사로
So last week we looked at how all the teachings of the Buddha, the entire expanse of scriptures that he taught, these can be subsumed into the practices that are in accordance with beings of various capacities. And we saw how there are the practices that are in common with a being of initial capacity. There's the practices that are in common with a being of intermediate capacity, and those practices which are unique to the being of greatest capacity.
데네기 김전 가relabne nga jugeda jike nga jul karku go sene da jimi ba chanda jeba bang jenene sanji go ba to go gore sija sanji go ba to bala ane jachu sem 공어 자주심기 냠는 심비 돈에 남 냠는 지고래 자주심기 고고래 자주심기 와라 니지기 고고래서 제가 니지기 와라 네 심전 탐지 동안에 타고도 선비기 삼로도 약고 깨와라 당보 소소라랑 난 동안에 타두가 삼바기 와 장와지 고고래서 디인자 아니 기부 징결람 이름바 냠는 제니 오늘 제고비 김전 디레제 다 소소라랑 코에 동안 타달래 타고도 선비 삼로 약고 깨와라 녀래양 아주 마스모 동안에 타고도 타고도 선비 삼로디 약고 깨고래서 제가 니네 인자네 기부 충유람 이름바 당보시 되는 기불 징결람 이름바디체 투모하듯이 되는 기부 침발람 이름바디 알람림고 송타디 송고비 김천디 디레스 그신 디슈로.
And then last week we looked at the reasons why the reasons why it is that all the teachings of the Buddha are included within this threefold division, and so the lineage of text that we're looking at is the Lam Rim, or the graduated stages of the path to enlightenment. So there in the title, the full translation of Lam Rim, we see that the goal is enlightenment. And in order to achieve enlightenment, one needs to eliminate the obscurations to omniscience. And those are the stains of the afflicted minds. And in order to eliminate those most subtle of obscurations, bodhicitta has to be generated. But in order to generate bodhicitta, one has to first generate compassion, because it's in dependence on compassion that bodhicitta is generated. And in order to give rise to actual compassion, especially of the strength that is referred to here, where one takes responsibility for the welfare of each and every being, that realization only comes about in dependence on first coming to a stable realization of one's own suffering situation, of the sufferings of cyclic existence in relation to one's own experience. And to generate that in a sincere way and of a sufficient strength that it completely alters one's perspective, one's outlook, one first starts by reflecting on the sufferings of the lower realms. So these are the reasons. It's in order to achieve that final goal of enlightenment and all those preceding steps that one trains in the practices that are shared with the spiritual aspirant of initial and then intermediate, and then eventually coming to the practices that are unique to the being of greatest or supreme capacity.
ane juhi churu lamrim nyamlen je bala dangbo juhi churu nyamlen je dene juhi churu se tenga de ne haji do jawa se jorwa ne haji do jawa ku song ti den ba de ji sang de ji nga do lamrim dangbo nyamlen go zu de den ma go zu orwa ne haji da jawa da ku song ti den ba se di ma juhi churu nyamlen je shi gorwa juhi churu se nyamlen je shi gorwa an di 차네 juhi churu nyamlen je je la ane nga zuki so saaya donalo so shin sa dabje dine ane yana dunju kone ane jiga so sawa di shee ma ane di nyamla chiyar di je la ane Lam Rim Yamlen Chabala, Ngazuli, Givishin, Dinga Givishin, the Gichimosa, Givishin, Densuki, and the Combiati, Dima Sache. And then, Dana Lamjirimba Kasa, Dirtat Shuba, Chesanki was Lamjirimba Yamlen Tampo, and Givo Chunga Lamir, Tumo Lamirimbashi, dinner Jingle Lamirimbashi, then Givo Chimba Lamirim Yamnashina, Dire, Kumishia could be Gumzan Dires and Tatisha Jeshadire, the Anchella that do Sassare. That didn't march you, that you would Chumu Lam Tumo Lamirimba, Lamrim Yamlin, Winnechi, Tumo Lamirimba, Jantanama, Gozuyadi, Gozugore.
Det går att en miljon besök I kolla chiksum på en bä.
Miljon är med det.
Det är så. We find ourselves now the first week of November, and we started this text back in February. So in February, we looked at the first part of the Lam Rim presentation, which we can call the preliminary. So it included the greatness of the Lam Rim, and we looked at the various greatnesses. And thereafter we looked at the need to, the method for starting one's meditation through the accumulation of virtue. And that was with the visualization of the merit field and engaging in the 7 limb prayer. And thereafter, we came to the chapter on how to rely on a spiritual teacher, and we went through those various meditations. And then most recently, we've looked at the division, or how the Lam Rim comprises the entire Buddhist canon, divided into the practices that are shared and unique to the beings of varying capacities. So tonight we now start with the actual practice of the Lam Rim, or the first of the actual practices of the Lam Rim.
Adini zada niba sita saje niba da dene ningbo lenchu ngwe la sumye beke dangbo chungo da tomo we lam la lo changso ni lo nando shilde kungne sa sungdo jina ningbo lenchu la so ningbo de lang zo nyagap kinga zo le degi ko za dungal 미고 바단 디기데 템발 고고를 제가 되네서 내가 민보들 토야들 라다 민고도 고바들와 내가 합식으로와 내가 합식 원되스 님불렌스들 수묘를 님보데 수묘로 내가 라다 미고반 안에 되네 탈바다 탐지 탈비고반 되네 탐지 김보고반 수묘로와 제가 되네게 님보들라 아 저기 내가 탈바다 탐지 캠비고 고방 토마토에 내가 별랑 주 가고서는 타다 미고방 톱제 토고를 타다 미디기 명고를 했어야지 내가 닝보 내가 닝보 직제 다 안에 내려 잡아다 코에 누가 타달래 빠지 띵기 대화 토에 탈바다 토고를 했어 니제 근데 숨바들라 다 되니 셈랑 직보 탈바 토바서 마에 셈전 탐제 코에 누가를 저체 야상에 살고 고고래 대인사 대려는 가서 상유고바 토고를 했어 상유고바 숨바지 제가 가서 닝보들라 다 약쇼데 탈독디 상유고바들와 디토에게 숨묘레스 가서 토고야 돼 닝보들라 제가 디 닝보랭 가서 주 랜들랑 숨묘데 랜바 고 숨묘바서 디나네 당보데 가서는 다 가서래 원dio 고반들과 재산 원dio 고반 토에게 탑 람냠는 시에들 기부 충무다 투모에 남기는 바시고 재산 충무다 투모에 남기는 바 델리아 곰절로 장고고레스 재산로 장소에 아니 간스 곰고레스 디고 마슈 힌시고와
So after all these months, we've concluded the preliminaries, and now we come to the actual body of the Lam Rim, of the graduated stages to enlightenment. So here we turn it to our text on page 18. So it's just above the heading. So just to say as an aside, all the headings in the text aren't in the Tibetan. The translator has inserted them. So we're just above that. To take the essence of your human life, there are 3 actual practices to be accomplished, namely the practices of the 3 capacities outlined above. So the essence of your human life, so this refers to striving to achieve our innermost wish, which is to avoid all suffering and develop the causes for lasting happiness. None of us want to suffer. None of us wants to experience any suffering or frustration or misery at all, but only want to experience happiness. So therefore we have both temporary and ultimate goals that one should spend our lives striving to accomplish, and in this way one takes the essence of this precious life. So at the very least, one should be striving to achieve the temporary happiness of a good rebirth as a human or God, and through accumulating those relevant causes. But moreover, one should be striving to go beyond that and to achieve the state of lasting, stable happiness that comes when one achieves liberation from suffering, liberation from samsara. But really, the goal that one should have as within the depths of one's heart, the goal that should be behind each practice, is that being aware that others share our wish for lasting happiness, and others are are bound in the same way that we are. We strive to achieve enlightenment for their sake, and that is the ultimate goal, that of enlightenment. So this is where we now come to the training, as we see in the outline, training the mind on the path shared with a person of initial capacity.
Lam Rim Lobsang Dorje Lam Rim Text said, "Ta gomna kar gomgori labna dondala Gyatso hada mi gobang ane topdegu di tokudu sembe donirge sabake dire di sabake dire di donirge sambo kunlon ma sona sabadire kunlon dike sawe chela da dadingan jogi jidin chima Gyatso hada mi gobang tokudu sembe donirge sambadi manjogi kege dondala di ane di yawo kegore Diki Dondala and some among Botango Chapel. Donda Chikti, Gyatso Hada Migoba, Tokudu Sebe, then Hada Misa Maria, Hada Mi, Tin Caperjanci, or Yahoo Tokudu, and Big Donir Sambaki, the Gyatso, that is sometimes Dichigre, Dikuno Mason, Diki. So Diki is a Chela and a Karja Gargomia Resene, the Chitin Chima, Gyatso Hada Mi, Tin Yahoo Toyagi, Yusa Chida. Ten del tolse ten delia ani digi yongaki and gusayade dire dagaje donda dingi ne yamne jede tanga kibu chungyo lam rim ba tumo lo jang sede ndi lo jayare daji.
So the reason that one starts by training the mind on the path shared with the person of initial capacity is because one needs to first start out with generating a motivation that is of sufficient strength that one commits to striving to at the very least achieve a good rebirth in our next life, a good rebirth as a human or as a God. But in order to give rise to this motivation of sufficient strength and stability, that it becomes a focus of our mental energy, requires a lot of reflection. It doesn't come about, to generate it of sufficient strength, doesn't come about with ease, but requires a lot of reflection. And once one has given rise to such a motivation to achieve a good rebirth, then one has the sufficient strength of mind to, with all one's heart, to strive to accumulate the causes that lead to the happiness that is experienced by a human or a God. So this is one reason why we start out with this path that is shared with a person of initial capacity.
Dani hanzo kibu chungu lam rim kongu la byo da ka che kar kongu sene da zo kunlo dangbo de la Gyatso hada mi go bang ane kyabra chenji togudu sambe tenige samlu kunlo di be donye shukchembo shu yelya dinganzo samlo yane hando da je donye shukchembo yela jikkom samta jikre di jikre sida niba di karsene da Gyatso hada mi go bang toyele gyu karsa gure sene gyule bezu jede gyudi karala na ando mi shede surum soyade sida surum yim nyam bezu jede ane anda Gyatso hada mi go bang ji chane delya Diao Kugo, Dunga Kugo, Marchesa, Digi Yonala, Manzuki, and Jimbe Yamlantia, Tudim Yamlantia, Sube Yamlantia, and Tunji Yamlantia, on this one, and Jikinigi, Gawa, that Jiki Chemipuya, Lasso, Bada Cha, Sale, that Jiki Dini Jimbe Yamlan, Denigi, that Gawa Modu, that Jidin Chima, Chimigi, and Delia, Dewa Tap, Yamlantia, disorder than the Mudang, Gibu Chumigi. Samnataya di Dipa Samnati Anzulia, Shukcherset, Yamnache, the Nuba Cherta dire, the Gomia dire.
The reason then for doing this reflection is twofold. Firstly, to generate a strength of mind that one strives wholeheartedly to achieve a good rebirth in our next life. And this comes about, generating this motivation is the first goal. And this comes about through repeated reflection. And then the second reason is so that with this strong wish to achieve a good rebirth, one then identifies the causes that lead to that result and then puts great effort into accomplishing those causes. So we've heard these causes before. The primary cause of a good rebirth as a human or God is to cultivate an ethical outlook. So that's the primary cause. But whilst that leads to a good rebirth, in order to have comforts and good conditions, one needs to accumulate further causes, and thereby one, with a strength of mind, engages in cultivating the minds of generosity, patience, and joyous perseverance. And then under the influence of these minds, one engages in a variety of branch practices, such as mandala offerings, prostrations, circumambulations, and so forth.
Geshe Thubten Rabten dan ni mo yo mare chisa den ngandro le kya na ngandro nyawa ida dunga den yore se dunga sam ta dunga ge ko sam ta de konzu ge den ge simju ji del dunga den yore ta del dunga den ge jeba ji dunga da ha go ya che de ma so den yore se ne so ha go ya che de rinpa ni de ni de sam tang ho re la ni sam tang de ni sam tang de ngandro le kya na nyawa ida dunga den yore se ne so ji ni kanga yoba da ha go ba ina an del ya ma ba ne de ma ra ya gi ma ki ya gi tabshidi sam tang re se ore chesan di inza ngandro dunga sam tang ho re chesan de ne inza ani chiwa mita chiwa samdaya da ngandru dunga samdaya di ni re jore chesan di ni sam ya ho ta ba ina de ne ya ho ha go ya du a ji din chima ha da mi go ba to ge top de de dumba de samlo de shu che se ru re jere.
How does a spiritual aspirant then give rise to an intense motivation to achieve a good rebirth? Well, there are several meditations, but the primary two would be to reflect on the impermanence of this life, that this life that we've achieved is not stable. So that's the first primary reflection. And the second, going from this, is, so this life, it will end. And when it ends, I will take rebirth again. And that rebirth can only be in one of two places. Again in a happy migration like we've achieved now, as a human or as a god, or in one of the suffering lower realms. And from that point of reflection, one then turns one's attention to the experiences of the lower realms and reflects on the situation that beings who have fallen to the lower realms are experiencing right now. We reflect on the multitude of sufferings being experienced in the hells, being experienced by spirits, and being experienced by animals. And it's through repeated reflection on the suffering of the lower realms that one naturally gives rise to a wish, I do not want to be born there, I do not want to suffer in that way, I could not cope with that. And with the intensity of that mind, one then has the energy to strive wholeheartedly to achieve a good rebirth. So these are the main two reflections here in the practices that are shared with the being of initial capacity, the impermanence of life, and the sufferings of the lower realms.
근데 dunro기 dun하디 장안저기 미 지금 홍와 망고 통과하고 그거라 dun로 망고지 하고 dun로 망고지 하고 그거 말아 dun로래 안저기 마통 망고 휴여로 와다 마통이 망아요로 와 안저 통이 dun로지는 마통이 dun로 망아로 차도요 그래서 안저 마통 망고 얘네 당한저 통하게 dun로기 dun하 망고지 안저 밀지네 dun하래 강 dun로래 강아체 여바디 안저 통투고 봐 지나디 dun하딘데 용도 선바다 하고 두고 나 이다세 다녀와세 당한저 통화 통고 말아 지상 되네서 안저 dun하디게 여바다 하고 그거 말아 지나 되네자 될야 지데네데 요래서 우연히서 라트치고 다제 라트스는 되네데 요다 될때나 강아디 치기리다 사지 될저겨 말아서 이다디게나 강아디네데 용물에 녀와게나 강아디네데 용물에 지사 되네저겨 말 직될 마기와 제고래 세디 곧 지가 가서래 디어서 봐 된거로 봐다.
When we reflect on the suffering of the lower realms, the actual situation is that of the three lower realms, we only in this life have direct perception of the sufferings of animals. But even whilst we have some direct perception of the suffering of animals, really our understanding of the suffering of the animal realm is very limited. On one hand, there are many animals whom we don't have any awareness of. Either we're just ignorant of them or they are yet to be discovered. But moreover, amongst this vast array of beings within the animal kingdom, there are very few whose suffering that we can actually relate to, in that their experiences are so different from ours. And whilst that is the case with animals, then in terms of the unseen beings such as spirits, there of course we have no direct perception. So there it's more difficult to come to a genuine understanding of the sufferings that they are experiencing when we have no basis in direct perception.
Dine za dangbo meni dine ganga digi ne su digi pa samda ra chue che. Dine ganga dile thaya jele ya ane jitin chima dewe Thubten ba si du jitin chima la da mi ko wa thoya da digi ya dine de nyamlen che wa she du ganga dile thaya je digi rubna digi gogo na nyamlen di che ko re sa shi go ro.
This meditation then starts out firstly with a reflection on the suffering that is being experienced in the lower realms, so the multiplicity of the multitude of sufferings that are being experienced. And then the second part of the meditation is to think, what are the causes that have led to these unwanted results?
Den yago togudu sebe dunye yago ge la ya ane dade komya de kar kongure la ne di yago ge donda la ante chiwa mita ko kongure se chiwa mita ko kongure se ro ta chiwa mita ba di komna de ganis kongure la na de la ya ane kasore kongubi kimjaro karre la ne chiwa mita ba ma ko ba na nyaba kar yoresne chiwa mita ba ma ko ba na ngazule gyong yores nyaba yores gyong yores ko 곰바이나 팬요레지레 치와 메타보 마곰나 경 곰바이나 팬요레스 아니 치와 메타바 곰바이나 곰비기로 간에질 공고그레 치와 메타바세 되니게 곰비기 아니 지게 치와 메타고 곰나 지지네 되네 치와 메타바 템 곰수세 곰수지지 림발마선 시차고레 내가지 다음에 치와 메타바 마곰바이나 나도 삼마다 바이나 마곰비기 꾼디요레스지 치와 메타고 곰바이나 팬디어레스 지균이다 팬이시 다음에 치와 미다보 곰나 치와 미다보 곰비로 치와 곰비로 로디 간치를 라고레 간치를 곰고레 로디 뭐송야 되지래 뭐송야 되래 제 뭐송이 되네 치와 미다보 곰나 간스 곰고레네 다 곰되네 되네 곰고레서 시야지 다 된살 마송이 시루 차로 그래.
Then when we look at the reflection on, just I've got myself a bit confused here, so bear with me a sec. Kotumso, die Tüme tak bei der Zama Gosong, jene kenen Utsuktu kenang die Imiento Kikola Sumpimbe.
Chiwa Mitabo Gomura, die Gomba delle Chiwa Mitabo Gomdu, Chiwa Mitabo Tempi Gitamba Gomure, die Gombanan, Gomnangazerasene, the Ganis Gomure, and Gyendela Chiwa Mitabo Madimbe. Madimbi gombi pen sam daya de ane gombi go lo se de ngwe son ya de che de no gom na de che de sajima sona shicha gore
So through reflecting on the suffering that potentially awaits one in the lower realms, one turns one's attention then of course to the situation that we have here, that the human life that we have, because we see that it is so much superior to the suffering that is being experienced in the lower realms. And that gives rise to the wish to achieve similar rebirths in the future, rebirths to what we have now. Then the meditation goes on to the impermanence of this life that we've achieved. Or to express it differently, the meditation on death and impermanence. So this meditation on the impermanence of life has 4 stages, four parts. The first is to reflect on the benefits of this meditation, the benefits that follow from meditating on the impermanence of this life. Secondly, the faults of not engaging in the meditation on the impermanence of life. Then thirdly, what is the mind that we are trying to generate? What is the entity or the essence of the mind that realizes the impermanence of life? And then fourthly, how to actually engage in the meditation on death and impermanence, or the meditation on impermanence of life.
치와 메타바 마덴베기 gyön gayo re lamna da gyön de ba chikan zidang bodi she ora nyeba sin gyön se gyön gar gar yung gore lamna garing moros na nga zuge samno na le ya gedi ne shigre sambe samno de kogo ma ra so ma ho wan za an nga zuge gar sam gore sene gedi chik gyön wo de ge sam da je de ne de ge so so ge che digi de ki ju ya da che digi ane dunga se ya so so ge chige nian di la ko che da so so ge zha di ge pa du ya me ba de gang a zhe da de ni ge tuan ne jawa de ni jiang yang chi go re di je ne je ba de kare lam ne di gyön re so da ji gyön di re kare gyön re ne de ni ge chi wa ma zhen ba zang ge wa chi ma ding go ma de chi wa ma zhen ba zang gewa chima ge samu tang go ma gewa chima sam ma ta ba ne gewa chima ge ya bo ya ge dan da le pe zu chi go ma de zhe de ne zang ha zu ge mi si ko ya an chi ge so su ge chi wa ma chi ge re sam be sam ma ma ta ge di na ma zhen ba yin za ne ge di na so su ge ja hua de che ya de che di ge dan da le ya ja wa jiang jiang che ya sam dan de be ju chi che ne che so ru re che zhe di ma zu ge che di ge chi wa ma zhen bi yin ge ma zhen ba yin za an gewa chima dönyergi dumbadi ngazo kigo mare di ma gewa di karasene chiwo martin bigi da gyön res gewa chima dönyer dumba ma gena gewa chima yago yana dönda gül pesu chigi mares chesna deni enzang anzole di gyön ra gore gewa chima martin bigi kase chiwo martin bigi sam ma ba na gyön tira gore chere.
So before, let's look firstly at the faults of not engaging on the meditation on the impermanence of life. So the situation that we find ourselves in is we don't readily think about death. We do our best to ignore it, and if we are faced with it or observe it, we very quickly move our attention elsewhere. And the result of this is that what does then dominate our mind? We are primarily concerned with achieving temporary worldly happiness, our worldly pleasures. The achievement of these dominates our mind. And its companion is the overcoming the mundane problems of this life. So these two tend to dominate almost every thought that we have. The achievement of temporary happiness that almost has no worth, as well as overcoming our very ordinary, mundane, worldly problems. And this is what dominates our mind. And this is the situation we find ourselves in, and this it shows that we have not reflected successfully or skillfully on death and impermanence. Because the fault of not reflecting on the impermanence of this life is that we remain trapped in just thinking about our mundane concerns, overcoming temporary problems, achieving temporary happinesses, getting upset about things of no value, getting excited about things of no value. And that means we are not thinking about the rebirths that await us, this long continuity of rebirths that await us. not thinking about them, we're not thinking about the accumulation of those causes that are required. And therefore, not putting energy into the accumulation of the causes that are required for good rebirths, we don't accumulate the causes that will lead to a good rebirth. So we end up coming to the end of this life without a powerful store of virtue behind us. So in brief then, the fault of not reflecting on impermanence of life is that our way of thinking remains dominated by worldly affairs. And we are not focused on accumulating the causes for good rebirths, but rather our mind stays stays trapped in the thoughts of this one mere life.
지게 칼라 베네사로 시네 어디기 네그레 삼비게 삼로 주메나 아니 사샤그로와 디 네그레 삼비 삼로 주요나 아니 디네나 가 시루그레 삼비 삼로 요나 디네 디사이 마르와데 고사할 젬기로와 스나 디네 장나주기 지게 람과지 도베네 딘마 사하베 사나가 시루그레 삼비 삼로 주요나 딜레 마사와제 삽섭지야기 탑시지그로와 지산 삽섭 마제와제 안 가시기 데니기 딘마사 시그레선 비기 낭메 땅제네 제는 삽섭 마제와제 딘마사야기 냥아용으로와 근데 자야도 자야로 지네 데니사 뇌니 시두그레 강아 티그레선 비게 삼로지 메나 아니 가조만의 산에 딘데 강아 티그로와 지산 데니기 데니스 칼라 데니 가조만 산 수불 뇌그레 강아 티그레 데니 시그레선 비게 삼로지에나 칼라라 젬고로와 제가 디네자 디나싱아 저기 치워기 마담바네 치루그레서 비 잠바 마담바이나 안 세디기 자장 내가 드네는 세디기 대잠기 자와장야 주비알 베지 제루그레자 디네자 개와치마 야고양야를 베지 끼두고 말이 제자디 치와 마담비게 괜에서 오래
If someone has been told that for their specific situation, a certain food type is gravely dangerous. Having certainty of that, they will make sure they avoid such a food type. They will not eat it because they understand with certainty the danger or the suffering that will follow. Similarly, if one has to travel on a path of great danger, perhaps along a precipice or somewhere else where there's grave danger, one will be very attentive, very careful. So that way of thinking, the strength of mind, this great attentiveness and care, this is not something that we have in terms of the awareness of the importance of accumulating the causes to achieve a good rebirth in the future. And what shows us that this is not strong is that we take such great joy in mundane things. We generate such sorrow and despair at things that are fleeting and momentary. We do not have the kind of strength of mind and attention that one has in other situations, such as if one knows there's a specific food type one must not eat. One will be very clear, read all the packets, ask in the restaurants and be very clear so as not to attain harm, not to accumulate the causes of suffering. That strength of mind, that is what we need to accumulate through this meditation on death and impermanence.
danga shiwa jingyo da jinga zu shi duguru wa sambe samlo joyor wa da shigiri be ai shi de shigiri sam joyor wa ine a zu sam na le gidi ne de jina shigiri be ne shigiri sa chi dini ina a zu dirin shi ge ma san yin shi ge ma na yin shi ge ma da wa ji je ma shi lo ji je ma shi ma sam deni ge samlo joyor wa nga zu le de chiwa mi da ba sam dang ba je zanga dirin shi ge ma da san yin shi na yin shi ge ma lo je ma shi ge ma lo mang bo ge ring le shi ge ma sam be samlo ji gidi na yue de ba cha 지선 데니기 삼로 디기 저기 두스체네 지요레스 지선 데니 인사 데니 치워 마덴바기 니미레스 다 치워 템바 곰비게 편연 가요레스니다 디젤레 마시오 쇼루와.
Even if sometimes we encounter something that reminds us of our mortality, even before we turn our mind to something else, we do not gain any appreciation of the of just how precarious our situation is. And therefore, we live our entire lives deluded by the belief that we have time. Everyone here will accept that death will come. It's very unlikely that we'll meet someone who doesn't believe that their life is finite. But we all live under the belief that death will not come today. It's not likely to come next week or even next year. And we tend to think that we have many years, perhaps decades ahead of us still. And this this belief is what serves to deceive us. This belief that we have time and not a full appreciation of the impermanence of our situation.
Chiwa Demba de Gomba in a Panya Kayore, Sebi, Chiwa, Mashi Dugri, Shigi, and be some Chiwa Dembi, Demba de Gomba in a Panya Kayores as your brother. Let the Panyores carry yours in a Chiwa Dembi, Demba de Anne, and the Gomji Demba, which Gomba Yina, Maza Kan Panya Kayosan, or that she do that, said the Jang, Jawa Jang, Duba Zemgi, Panya Kamino, said this mother Pamino. She was not Jawachima, and the Jawalendo Delia, and Mazuki, Guruchine, Gubenjo, Mena, Keria Minu, Cesar, and Yunden Casore, as one Chimbina Bishop Tatu Minu, Cesar, the names, she all a Gatuya came into us, the names, she do not pay Gayores in it, that give some chain, Yaman Gawa to Tuena, and the tea pinkores, and Cesar, Mazuki, Shina, with Chiwa Dimbe, Tampo Comiodu. And China Drosa de la Ganson, Mandro, and Dendro Nima to your Marchesa, Dendro Dola, Diva Chevan, Dendro Key to put it, and Andrew Diva Chevan and Andrew Maki to Kewa Chevan, Dendro Key orders, the Diniza, Dendro Key, Ukewachi and a Pingores, the Diniza, Chiwamang, Timbi, Temba Diane, and Combine, Dene, Temba, Tembuya, Shukchimbo Leva, Sidisam Gigi, and Jawalba. So you need Joya, try to Yada, sit Dizam, dig to Hugget, Lehadele, Nimbo Sherame or Tungures, Nimbo Meva, and Nuba Pandol Mason, Pandol Chujo Mother, said Dizam Mother Pando Meva Tonde, and Dile Chima Dunyage somebody, the Chimala Pando did the Chima's Tarimba, and Dele Pando Jake, somebody should check it to race. Just I did Chiwa Tempiki, pain race or.
The 4 points of the meditation on the impermanence of life. That was the first then, that of the faults of not engaging in the meditation. And then the second point, the second of the 4, is to reflect on the benefits of meditating on the impermanence of this life. So when one meditates on death, one's perspective starts to shift. As one meditates more on death, one's perspective shifts radically. One no longer starts to be less and less overwhelmed by worldly affairs, by all the happenings of our life. We come to see these problems that cause us now such mental upset, as well as these objects of our desire or the desires that disturb and stir up our mind. So we start to see them in a truer perspective. And this comes about in that through reflecting on the impermanence of this life, through reflecting on death, our mind turns towards the Dharma. And this is because what we value is now shifting. Our perspective is shifting. We're starting to see that these worldly affairs, they consume so much time and energy, whether it's conflict with enemies or all the desires for this and that. These have so little value because they can't be taken with us to our future lives. They can't help us at the time of death. So therefore, through this changing perspective, our mind turns towards the Dharma. And this has the result that, not wanting to fall to the lower realms, we avoid non-virtue. Wanting to achieve a good rebirth, our mind is focused on virtue. So these then, in brief, are the benefits of reflecting on death.
Tene dadi chiwa matena nyeme tene du kyong tene ragidu sa chiwa komba ina phanye be tene du su phanye samta da tene za da ne chiwa tempi ki lodi gomya ki chiwa tempi lodi kanachi re sa chi gan da dingo lodi ngo so ya de ngo so ne di gomya ki lodi kanachi re chiwa tempi lodi gomya sa di chiwa tempi lodi kanachi re sa di ngo so ya de chi gorda.
And the third point of the meditation, so from the faults to the benefits, to what is this mind that is, or how can one recognize the mind that is reflecting on the impermanence of life?
And that it chiwa comia the carrera dang had set helia set di jang jawa che and chicken casurim. She drawn a son get just an son like give Manason like give you Judy Macaba, Judy Gam Macaba, Jawachima had I meet to you, you must have watched Shiva in the best asari some denigit in Chihuahua Java comia did that. Case Nason like Judy Pa Macaba, Gumeva Masuba, and Chima Jawachima had I meet Govangi, Judy Maki, Jumasabache. Masabache, Denigi, Namia Jaya, she run the deepest asari, some Denigi some died. Chiwa Tempulo, Jaya Lui, Chiwa Tempulo said, Tanga she rosare some Dichibu Maria said, Garrella, Nasungi Jaging, Cudipa, Makaba, Hidi, Makaba, Meva Masuba, meant that the Sardu Masaba, Sudim Suyata, Yamasaja by the Pa Meva Masubache, and the Masubata, and said, Jawachima had a muco to Yumasabache, Minyamin Machebache, Shitobanda, my Pesa Sare, some indigenous some time. This Ducomedi, Chiwa Tempico, Lo di that I have commiati chicked there.
The third point in the meditation is the third point here is important to have great clarity on, or to have no doubt or uncertainty about, because generally we don't like to think about death. We don't like to think about that this life is impermanent and will end. So the point of this meditation is not to generate fear, oh, I will die, and if I die I may fall to the lower realms. If that's the outcome of one's meditation, one's mind is going to be anxious, one's mind is going to be disturbed and all over the place. It's not going to be, that is not the mind that we're seeking. So rather the mind that we are aiming for, the mind that we are aiming to cultivate in our meditation, is an understanding of the impermanence of this life, and that what will follow is a rebirth in one of two directions. And with that understanding, one commits to not accumulating the causes that lead to the lower realm rebirth, but only accumulating causes that lead to rebirth in the happier realms. So that's what one is striving for. To express it differently, through the shifting of perspective away from seeing worldly activities as having no essence, but rather valuing the importance of accumulating causes for good rebirths, one will take great care. One will take great care not to accumulate even slight causes that will ripen in suffering. And one will take great care to accumulate causes that lead to happiness. And that means one's mind naturally remains with the Dharma. One's mind is strongly influenced by the Dharma. And therefore, all our various activities are influenced by the Dharma. So that strength of mind that with ease we turn away from worldly affairs and we keep our mind on the virtuous object, keep our mind in our daily activities on the Dharma, that is the result of the reflection on death and impermanence.
Meva Suya, Zangma Suya, Sabara, Goya, Tapsha, Dayada, Besu Cheng, Rua. Just I didn't know she, Zulia, nga so le ke gu de pa me ba so or de le pa gu me ba ma so ne pe sa sa le che san gu me ba ma so ba shin ta pe sa ge che san dang ke wa chi ma den trol ke gi gu di ma sa ba che nga gu di ma sa ba che shi ren pe sa ge san pe de ni ge sam lo den ba di shu de yang ne sam ta de this temper ni di temper de shuk chen ba ta di temper de ka je shuk che bo ye ba na ka li ge sin ke wa chi ma ha da mi go ba to de de ni ge tum ba de shuk che li go ro wa che san di de ni tum ba shuk de ni ga je shuk che le na di to gyu sa ya le be che li go re den gyu sa be che le ni gyu sa yo go gyu sa ba na de ni chi na di den ro ki ro go wa de ka na se yo ma ro wa che sa de ni en za chi wo den bi lo sa de di re da di sam ta de re.
If one has to go to an important a ceremony, then where one needs to perhaps dress up, then one will make sure that one looks the part. One won't want to go in a way that's embarrassing and shameful, and where people look at you in a demeaning way. So one will prepare properly for this ceremony, this big event. So this is similar to what we're doing here. Is we're thinking about this important event at the end of our life, the transition into a new body, and thinking about this in a way with great where the certainty of our death becomes vivid to us, as well as the two possibilities in terms of our future rebirth, where that becomes vivid to us. Then, with a strength of mind, we'll make great effort to accumulate the causes for good rebirth, and we'll be careful not to accumulate the causes that lead to suffering. The more we meditate on death and impermanence, the greater our mindfulness of this topic will be. In other words, when we're going about our activities, we will have this present in our mind, and therefore it will have an influence on our behavior. Our behavior will be directed towards accumulating the causes for good rebirth and avoiding accumulation of causes that lead to suffering. And the stronger this mindfulness is, then the greater ease we'll have to accumulate the causes for happiness, and the greater certainty that one will have at the time of death, that a good rebirth awaits one. And in fact, it can be said that due to having lived one's life with a mind directed towards the Dharma, a good rebirth will be achieved with ease.
Denigi chiwa tembi lo se di kiwa chima nga su dunga di mewa dunga yu di ma masaba che shi na pe sa sa re. Dendri toya ki lada mi kuban toya yu di masaba shi na pe sa sa re. Denigi di yaku mindu de yaku notri resha sambi ki denigi temba di yaku ye di gomya zo jik di re da di. Di gomya la ya di samlo de yaku ye la da chiwa mi da ba gomna
So a key point for the meditation on death and impermanence is that it results in one's mind being focused on the Dharma. And here that we understood that whatever one's doing, one's mind is on a Dharma topic, which means one's mind is directed towards accumulating virtue, accumulating the causes that lead to a good rebirth, and great care not to accumulate the causes for suffering. So through guarding one's mind like this, with great ease one accumulates the causes that lead to good rebirth.
Gewa chen mado gewal mado shen gange pando mu mare said on do some diag jikshi go bada
Den kunde gerne die also Chimatak bekola samdu den die Eva Shiore
die chiwa
die Shipa de also Eva Shipa de
Shiba.
Okay. So we're in of these 4 points of the meditation on death, we're in the 4th point now. And so the 4th point is first the certainty of death, and then secondly, the uncertainty of the time of death. So this key point here, so in the 4th point, two subdivisions. The first we've mentioned, the certainty of death. The second is the uncertainty of the time of death. And this needs to also be reflected on greatly, because this adds to the strength of mind. It adds to the sense of urgency, that we need to accumulate the causes for good rebirth now. That we need to be disciplined and not allow ourselves to accumulate the causes for suffering. And this ever greater strength of mind comes about through skillful reflection on the uncertainty of the time of death. Now we turn to the text, the bottom of the 18th page. You have attained this precious human form, difficult to gain and extremely meaningful, and are now a human being. However, this life will not last forever. Jesa kiawa chima lada miu goba toyege samtawene sedelya tendile nyamnen jeje lada miu goba to yusa tu gore an tarbada tamje kimbi goba toyege na tendile yangaza nyamnen jeje an tarbada tamje kimbi goba toyege yusa tamje goba top tu gore jesa nganzo tendi ani be masibigi dühena chimbu juktuye ten kyaba jeje jesa sosugi dönda 저 소수 되는 뭐 샹에 펜바 개침을 두베네 샹이 동화세야 디기 두베네 나저기 덴디 되네 샹이 동화세야 디기 두에 펜바 개침을 두고 그래 그래서 나송의 덴세야 디기 베네 야와이다 두로 개베네 덴 개베네 디시 소수 동화디게세 투야담 베주지 두 말에 안에 삼로여베네 베주지 두 말에 안 냠네지 두 말에 안에 샹에 펜바 개침을 두고 말에 그래서 나저기 denjugi miliri mo chisa be mase donda geche mo shu de cedel ya sosugi digi dunga se ya digi dubya ane shengi digi se dubya da dunga se ya tabada tamjegi bo gobang topdegi 차상 안주기 밀리기 가서 된del야 죽투에게 된지래 그래서 제상 안주 된데 빼면서 된다 쳐보 쉬우지래서 되네게 라야지 기어렌투에데 빼 갈래하고 그래서 그래서 디 라야라 유 야고 수줌소야다 진발라서 반냠래 야고 제고 그래서 라하고 그래서 제상 안주 되네게 된디들 톱되바디 되네게 톱 빼면서 야고래 제사 되네상 디 아니 게디 바 니기리라나 로 마나 로자라스 니기리마도 아니 직 되네 조조 그래서 제사 되네게 된데 마조 빨아들 양은 저기 냠네 제마도 봐인다 되네 조조 그랬다 되네 님지 시주를 매바 차로 그래서 제사 되네게 매바 마차니라 만족이 계주 두고 그래서 되네게 우삼다 되게. As we see here at the bottom of the 18th page, that the effective or the transformative meditation on death and impermanence starts by having it comes about in dependence on the prior meditation on the preciousness of this human rebirth. So that was covered in some detail some weeks ago, and we spoke there about the points of the meditation, and two of them are mentioned here. With great difficulty in past lives, we accumulated the causes that have led to this result that we are all experiencing now. And when we reflect about that in some detail, it gives rise to an appreciation, a valuing of this life and what we have achieved. And the second key point is to reflect on the great meaning or the great purpose that can be achieved within this life. And here we saw that it's independence on having achieved a human rebirth, that one can set oneself to accumulate the causes to achieve another good rebirth. And that is something that we can do as humans. Moreover, we can actually, in this life, strive for and approach or even achieve a state of lasting happiness, liberation from suffering. And moreover, on the basis of this rebirth that we each have achieved, we can strive for Buddhahood itself. And in this process of striving to become a Buddha for the sake of others, we can be of such great benefit to others in this very life. So through independence on these prior reflections, we come to value this life that we've achieved, not take it for granted. In particular, through seeing how difficult it was to achieve, as well as what can be achieved, how to live a meaningful life. So independent on that prior meditation, we are now ready for this further meditation here on death and impermanence. And here one starts with a reflection on the certainty of death. Every being that is born will die. Every being that is born will die. The lifespan is 100 years or so, and within that, every human that is born will die.
Bendigo, 다시 두 그래서 배 삼렀다야. 다데네 니바들에 녀발 치와서 다 땡땡 시기래. 매치바시 타래기네요 말해서 녀발 치기래서. 제가 녀발 시두 그래서 제가 다 가르래서네. 당연히 녀마 마치 디기에 제 점물린 나라야 디기에 제 디마치 마시와치 라요라서 지라요 말해서 제가 디네 현장 제가 녀발 땡땡 시두 마도 마시와 라야지요 말해서 제 사회 제라 차상 시두 그래서
The meditations outlined here at the top of the 19th page. So firstly, that this life will not last forever. So that's that first point, the certainty of death, that all humans will die within 100 years or so of their birth. But secondly, when the time of death is, that is not certain. So that death itself is certain. But the time of death and the manner of death, that is completely uncertain.
다데네 남칭에 바명에서 되게지시 된대요 말해서 되게 대양 가점네 칭에 봐 미두베 다다니네 닝볼렘발라 베고스 제가 게지시기래라네 디 게지시 된대요 마치지나 상이시기 나이시 지로 제마시기래서 디로가 로 두주바도 되게 되바도 마실라요 말했어 랍투야 말했어 제가 로 몹지 되게 되네 시기마데 몹지니에 시기 말했어 되라요 말 제가 아주 게지시기래 된대 기네요 말아서 가서 시위 견데레베 망부요레스 베네 중앙 추장서 다들 수부 타다베 될레 기부여 베네 사임으로 잡잖아 탑도가 사임 잡나 디견진의 시도야 자기래 야네 찰롱다 되네 그 견진 중앙 추지 탑조고게 야네 막추 쇼르체 되는 시도 야네 칼라사다 마디바체 아니 되는 시도야로다 야저 공부 잡다다 니다다 마디바체 되는 시도 진짜 시위 견데레베 마스 망호 쇼르 진짜 디바의 시기래 디바의 시기 말해서 랍투야요 말해서 같이 시기를 내봐요 말해서 세상 된대요 말해서 남친 해매래서 어두섬 땅고래지래.
Looking at the text, moreover, you do not know how long death will wait before striking. Therefore, immediately exert effort to take life's essence. So this is the key point. First, we've had reflected on the preciousness of this life, and now we've moved on to that this life will end. And in this point now, this key point of the uncertainty of the ending of this life, we here reflect that none of us can say with any certainty at all how much time awaits us. If we've lived, say, 50 years, can we say there will be another 50 years? No one can say that. No one can say that with certainty. Every being that has been born has died, and beings tend to die at times that are unexpected and often unwanted. And moreover, the causes that bring about the end of one's life are incredibly varied. We see people who die in floods or in earthquakes, a variety of natural disasters, or in conflict, whether the conflict is between nations and communities or even in the family. as well as people die from sources of sustenance, such as from food, or sources of enjoyment, engaging in sport or other activities, or die an accidental death. There's such a wide variety of ways that life is brought to an abrupt end. And when that end will be is completely uncertain.
And Midupe, Dadane, Nimbolem Balapego, the Denegida, the Benechiwa, Chiwa, Namching Eme, the Chiwang ever Chiwata, the Namching Eme, Meda, Kedishang ever Yomares, and some night. Chisna that, Chisna Shiba ina, that Nandriki, Nandriki, Gudi, Pa Mabawache, Meva Masovache. Dendruki Gudi Masova Shiva in that, then Kedishing ever your Marjida, Sayana Shirone, the good Masavajing at Besasare, Samje, that Rania, and then Anzuki, Nimbolengore, Sidu, Kiwachiman, Kasongason Kiegu, Yamasasho by the Nemotoshuko, Shalom Cheada, and that Kiwachima, Angazur had a muco Vatoya, the Surum Soyada, Jimbenium, Subenium, that Ranache resided. Dinigi Chua Mitaba, some never Chua, some died. Namching him as some died. Then you get Gasso the order. She down the Lord the nation near the nature charge. Dinning on Yamlin chickens at church in Yamlin chickens said. The Lord the Eagle, the nature chickens, Tibala de la chicken house, you get Kang chick, Lehoya, then Yingi. Nin Joyada and Yataduyala so they have Mamudu this chaser and Lojama, Lohashi Chile, a chicken, Yaman chicken, Sambaina, Chesa, Dipara de la Jolomala, Shidobaina, and a John Ragorwa. Dinizam Namching him some died, just Namching him never Mevainsa, Denigi, Lelo di Baya Charo, Bandura, Lelo Gigo Marasan, Lelo Goya Dondala, Namching him. Chitan Namji gave a commuter, or Daki teaching ever your mother chicken, sign nine children, the best agri and big, and that in the yard, and the chicken, Nimbotoshuko in the Tipa Saja Chia, and the Jimbi Kiwachima, Lada Muko Montoya, and the Sudim Soyada, Jimba the Subinium, Kanto to that in the Chehu to Sembeciadi, and some of the Leon Register, that in the chickens and Bendigo Kunoki Horege, then is some down Horege.
Reflecting on these two key points, the certainty that life will end and the uncertainty as to when and how it will end. When these have been done repeatedly over a sustained period, the mind turns very strongly towards the Dharma, and naturally it will arise within us in dependence on those prime meditations. I have to abandon the causes that will lead to suffering, and I must put great effort into accumulating the causes that will lead to happiness. And moreover, the time to do that is right now. Because that my life will end, I now have conviction of that. And that the time it will end, I've recognized that that time is completely uncertain. There is no certainty that this meditation session will even be concluded. There is no certainty that I will still be alive this time next week, next month, next year. At some point, at some unknown point, this life will end. And therefore, I must make the most of this opportunity. I must make the most of what remains. Because I have no idea how much time I have left. And almost certainly it'll be far less than ideally one would like. So therefore now is the time to ensure that my mind is always ethical. And I engage in the cultivation of the practices of generosity and patience and so forth. Now is the time to do this. Not to procrastinate, not to delay it for when these projects are finished or these life events have passed. Now is the time. Because my lifespan is so unclear. The length of time that I've left is so unclear. Thinking like this, we need to ensure. So now a new key point to make is that thinking like this will result in one turning away from worldly affairs, not being so drawn to them. But Buddhism is a path of wisdom. This reflection should not result in one saying, I'm retiring from my job, I'm giving away all my possessions, I'm now just going to study and meditate because death is imminent. And whilst it is correct to see that death can come about at any time. The purpose of this meditation is to abandon laziness. So one must continue to work and pay one's bills and do the things one needs to sustain one's life. But this should be done through a new perspective. This should not dominate one's mental process. Rather, one should go about their life. One should first prioritize one's life events and see what is important, what is truly important. And that which isn't should be put aside. That which is should be done whilst the minds of Dharma are present within oneself, the minds of ethics, generosity, patience, and so forth. And then, with the mind turned away from worldly affairs, one will have much more time to concentrate on the cultivation of ever stronger minds of Dharma within oneself. So this is what we're striving to come to in this meditation.
Denga panche sude dada panche liya ane dra shen sude mi pe kira chenpo wangtang chenpo ane chige shivu chebe ne chasang shi che nyema ne dine nyema diwa pe gyabo pe shivu ryo sayada gyabo kira chenpo re sayada mi gyu chenpo re sayada ane chige kwa nyamlenpa re sayada dine ge yordi ine chasang dada bardo nyema ge shi tsar che 다들 봐도 통화요 말을 세상 다 님마 되는 중에 다 세야지 지게 담로 거야를 마도 통화요 말 시시가래서 다들 미케라 첨보다 미야고 망보 님마 아니 유첨보다 변조 첨보다 왕당 첨보다 되네 권에 첨보다 되는 지금 냠면 바로 지 야보여번 되네 차상 되네 님마 망보 중요할 때 제수 차상 안에 시시에 된다 뭔가 라요 말해서 망보 시유로서 다 현실에 매교 망보냐마다 배다 교고 쇼라 주주로 받아 계시에 마신다 되네게 변조 강화 유딩 되네 망보 중에 대서 디시제네 녀마 되네 주 망보 시사요래서 딩딩 디바라네 딩딩 유캔다 어서 디스 되네 망보 시사 제가 녀마네 다데 바도 녀마도 로갸녀야 아니식 되네게 깨라 첨보다 강아 첨보야 망고 중요해 강아 유해 망고 중요해 아니 딩딩이에 망고 디스 차상 다리 봐도 다 차상 야니예니를 중게 차상 시설 다리 버지 하요 말해서 제가 스타시 디숨 아니 디zam체 되는 초무와 신시대 초무와 신시대 배능아 저게 다 그신 메롤야 지게 따교다도 미 망고 좀 여러와 되네기 미 망고 좀 되게 될 첨시고 미첨 망고 미소여 봐 우르시도 다들이 차르도 차상 조안에 한디 카범이 되지 미드서데 차상 동보 차도야. 저 우르시 차상 봐. 내가서 로볼도 매봐 차제. 네 동바나서. 제가 녀마다야 윤도다 미다데네 망고 중요도 차상 빠도 매봐 되는 소치 뭐라도 차상 되는 시사제. 네 라요 말에서 제가 되는 라요 말 제가 레다 녀모 왕기 시와라 라와요 말 제가 치다기 좀 말에서 레다 녀모 왕기 라와면 시사와레서
Coming then to the next line here near the top of page 19. I'm not going to read it because the Tibetan is, let's say, it's very ambiguous. So again, this explanation is quite different from our translation. The meaning is that if we divide the beings that have lived in our world, so first we think from the perspective of humans, we can say that there were those who had great power and great influence in this world, leaders of nations, businesses and so forth, business people and so forth, as well as people who were famous for a variety of reasons, or those who were greatly skilled and had a great impact on our world. So immediately many names will come to mind, and they've all died. They all died. So even those with the greatest of power and influence, they died. Those with the greatest intelligence and skill in any field, they all died. And of course, it's not just the greatest ones that have died, but the masses in the middle, they also all died. as well as those at the bottom rungs of society, the poor, the powerless, they have all died. And also where there have been great collections of people, they also have passed. We can see empires have gone, nations have gone, those people who comprise those nations are gone. Likewise, in the animal world, there are animals that are completely extinct, or once there were great, where the flocks or herds of animals, they were all killed and they're gone. And all this has come about in the human world, in the animal world, in all realms, due to contaminated karma and afflictions. So here, this is further reasonings to be utilized to reflect on the impermanence of life.
Chiwa Gomba said, Dini Shidu Sempe, Chiwa Kanekane Shidu, Dini Shidu, Sempe, that Dinazu Shimju, Jebache, Chagua, Yama, the Junga disaster didn't Shinjila, Mindua, the Shidu, Sempe, Samata, Jeshidu. Then that day, the Mahobanolo, and Jashelia, Chasan, that day, eating Mrs. Logia. Last year, Chasameva Charos and Bedindu, Jevache. Didn't you do that? She yelled at Chidu, she's not Shiva and Zada, didn't she yell and Gedishing Evaji Midu came home, but Sana Chigidishing Eva Sky Midu, Chival and Yabat de Midu, Gedishimia. She's not Deniki Shiva na. Then do some diet that Chiva Metabo Gom said, do some da. And Shiva in the Karakin Horelana, Shiva and the Takawachima Delia. She never chagomar, then they never chagomar. Chikiawa Chilento, yesterday. Take your Lena Kawalos and Androli Kawali, and generally Kawal is a dinima do Homares. Chesang Androli Kawalen by Nata, so Yawa Ida, Dunto Kawan, Ganga did it in the Yores. Chesan Teniglita, tell it the Kia, Lingman, tell it that Tabu, some big, some like Yada, Dene Samta. Deneda, Dendru Kavana had a migo want to talk or the Nikki had a migo want to Nanson let her have a medical found Toku. Chesan Denito was a de Mashipara deliami, Mandrul Gudi Meva, Yama Sasha, but Nibo Topshuko, Shash, Meva, Mazobache, Mazoba, the Niki, Takiwachima had a migo want to be Yumasaba Shiva and the Pesasareta, Samje, Diana do Sushuko. The Niki Pesasare, some Biana and Gomio. Tikaze Shukchelena or that chicken chima don't you get the Hadamiko water goody that in the South was and big Geshe Thubten Rabten. Then the names are Dandala, Manzuki, the thing is some diet, did it, that Dandala Karasene, Chiwa Mitaba, some diet, Chiwa Kumbi, Payada, Gomnet in it in the Payado, Magomba in the Chiwa Jembana, and Digwangel, Sedike Jaja Jiro, Chiwa Jembana, and Chiwa Jenna, she knit in it in the Yungure, Chesan Dela Tarbe tapped in it to be the tablet Petusia League, Tenezan, or Dustin, sometime, Yawachima, Hada Migo Wanji. Matom the Tapidu, Sembe, Dunya, some load Shukshimakia, Ditobia Dandala, Manzuki, Hada Miko, Gudigas, Sudim Soya, Tinzang, Sudim Lunga is Mugo, the Nature, and Sudinabata, the Sungi, Sembi, Sudim Soya, Dene, and Jimbe Yamne, Sube Yamne, and the Junju Yamne, then Giwachima, Hada Mukova, Topsia and Detail, Yamne Yapuche, Tuber Shore, said, Molam Jaya, and Visit did it, Anzuki. Garso, Kivu Chunga Lamirimba, Tumo Lamiriba Yamne, Gom said, some Tahadi did, this is Gomia did, Dagajem. Tangas in the Muni, the Takara Mato, Dile Hava Jayoma, that you made this some tired. So that the next some tired, the Yankuno de Liango, that's the Rang, said Jesus, Tamjig Dondalia, Dunga said Digitualia, Sanjoko, Tovala, Sanjoko, Tovala, the Yamlin, Mambuche was a Sedeliang, Sanjoko, Tomo, the Yawachima. Nyamne chewa di za chewa chime de la thada mi ko ba to tin cha ba je top di de la ya ane jik cha ba chime chu nyamne ya bo ji ya ra na xian le pan pe ge chime zhu tu ye ge don da la nge chewa chima thada mi ko ba to ba ji sen be ge don ye ge sam bo shu chime ge di to ye ge don da la nge jimbe nya chu chim jimba chu se ba zu de nyamne ji gi sen be ge o du chen ne sam da jeng a zu sam de be zu je de a zu ja ya de nyamne je woni de la len da ya de Sudim Jimba, Seba, Junju, something, Disunamne, Bezu, Gome Direta. Di Yapuya, Donda, Kuno, Masona, Chimadu, Dubakia, Dire. 진짜 지마동이 두백기에 야호디게 don달라 다 치와미다 봐 곰나래 땡에메 남치 아니에메 치와게 봐 삼다하데 두스를 체거래 안디링 가서 삼다에 디레다
Several points have been mentioned tonight that you should incorporate in your investigation, your analytical meditation. And in the time that we've been sitting here together and talking, we can think of how many beings have died in this world. Just in the time we've spent here together, humans and non-humans. And over a period of a day, how many die. And every moment, how many die. And so all of these show the certainty of death. And we can imagine that very few of them knew, now my life is going to end. And if they did, almost certainly they wouldn't be thinking, fantastic. They would rather have more time. So we need to reflect on these two key points, the certainty of death and the lack of certainty as to when this will be. Because the truth that we're trying to generate within us is that death does loom before us. And this we need to understand not just on an intellectual level, but on an emotional level and an innate level, so that it changes our way of thinking. And through meditating, doing even a single effective meditation on death, it leads to a sense of restlessness arising within us, a sense of unease. And that, in turn, leads to a sense of urgency. A sense of urgency in the sense of this life that is of such great value. I must not let it go to waste. And moreover, because my life is going to end at some point, and that could be very soon, whatever period remains, I need to use very well. And I not only use it well, but with great care. So here we're starting to think with a sense of urgency about our approaching future rebirth, that at some point a last breath will come and the next breath will be in a new life. And therefore, this period that remains between now and then, I need to commit to striving to accumulate the causes for a good rebirth and being careful to avoid the causes that only lead to suffering. And what this means is that we keep our mind, no matter what we're doing, turned towards the Dharma, turned towards the virtue. We ensure that our mind is always ethical, and that therefore we don't speak in an unethical way or act in an unethical way. And we keep our mind focused on generosity, wanting to be of benefit to others. Keep our mind patient, undisturbed in the face of adversity. And when these have arisen with us in a powerful way, the mind of joyous perseverance too will be very strong within us. This is what we'll be wanting to do, how we'll be wanting to live our lives. And this is where this meditation is taking us, focusing our mind on the cultivation of the causes that lead to ongoing good rebirths. And these are, as we know, ethics, generosity, patience, joyous perseverance, and fifthly, prayer. And through effective meditation on death, we'll naturally give rise to the wish, this is how I want to spend my life. I want to spend what remains of this life in a meaningful way, cultivating these ever more virtuous minds within myself. And the strength of that, of this wish to live a meaningful life, comes about in dependence on this meditation, the certainty that death will come, as well as the uncertainty as to the time. And that strength of mind then gives us the inner strength to turn away from non-virtue, to keep our mind virtuous, and thereby accumulate huge stores of virtue. And why this is so important for all of us is if we are sitting here with a hope to enter the paths of the bodhisattvas, to cultivate the mind of the bodhisattvas within us, it is this very meditation that starts to give us the strength of mind that we need to later be able to engage in the actual practices of bodhisattvas. So it's through developing this great and powerful mind that we will be able to engage in the practices of bodhisattvas. So here, in brief then, for our future lives to go well and our spiritual progression to go well, we need to accumulate the relevant causes. And the strength of mind that required to bring about that accumulation comes about in dependence on reflecting on the certainty of our death and the uncertainty of the time of our death.
Okay.
Okay. So then we'll conclude here, thank you. And then next week we'll continue from the same place.